Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Music Theory Mondays. Thank you for joining me. We are going to talk about different ways to use the fully diminished seventh chord in music, in progressions, what its function is, ways that you can employ this thing, because on its own it's kind of ugly and odd. I'm actually going to do this in two videos because this is going to be a very dense, information-dense thing. First, let's talk about what the diminished chord is. All right, first thing I gotta show you is the diminished chord is kind of an altered chord in the sense that it doesn't really fall into the major or minor harmonized chord chart. All right, the 7 chord in the major scale is, if we're in the key of C, it's B half diminished 7. Which means it's a root, a minor third, and a major third at the end, making this a half diminished 7. All right, so now in the minor scale, the diminished chord, the half diminished chord is the 2 chord, right? Because everything shifts. So it's the same chord, still half diminished. What they've done, probably most likely in the jazz world, is brought this fully diminished chord in, where you have the root, the minor third, the flat 5, and a flat 7. So if we're looking at the B being the 7th chord in the key of C, we have a B to a D to an F to an A flat. Now what's really magical about this diminished chord is that all of the notes within it are all the same intervallic distance apart. Now, if you don't know what that means, all that means is that if you know your intervals, and if you don't know your intervals, please go back to the beginning of this Music Theory Mondays playlist. Check out the very first video on intervals just to get familiar. And please like while you're there. Thank you. So what you have here is a series of minor third intervals stacked, okay? So we have a B to a D, which is a minor third, a D to an F, which is a minor third, excuse me, and then an F to an A flat, which is a minor third. And what's really cool about that is that it's one of the few chords that does that, right? Most chords are a mixture of half steps, minor thirds, major thirds, and whatnot. But this one is all the same interval throughout, which brings me to a really important fact that I should say, is that because of that fact, you can name this chord by any one of those notes, which means you can make it a B diminished chord, you can make it a D diminished, you can make it an F diminished, or you can make it an A flat diminished. All right, and it can take on any one of those 4 names. Now, because there's only 12 major keys, that means there's technically only 3 of these fully diminished chords. Right? Okay, so let's move on to the chord progression at hand. Again, we're going to be doing this in a couple different videos. This first video, I want to show you a way we can use the fully diminished chord as in a lot of times this chord will be used as a bridge between 2 other chords, all right? And because it's so different from the diatonic harmony of the major or minor scale, it really lends itself nicely. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the key of G. All right, put the key of G up on screen. I want you to focus on the 4 and the 5 chord. The 4 chord being C and the 5 chord being D. All right, what we can do is we can throw in that C sharp diminished 7 between the C and the D. Now, of course, the C and the D have a note in between them, and that is the C sharp note. So this is going to be a perfect segue, like a stepping stone from the C to the D. Here we go. Ready? And it creates a sense, it's almost got a dominant-like vibe to it, because it sets you up for resolution. And even though we're not resolving to the tonic chord of the key, we're still resolving. We're creating a micro resolution, right? So we'll go C, and then C sharp diminished 7 up to D. And what's really cool about that for the bass player is you have a chromatic ascending bass line. All right, that's the first of many of these to come. I think we're going to do one more before we end this. I like to keep my videos kind of short. We're going to go to the relative minor of G, which, as you probably know, is the key of E minor. All right, now we're actually just going to do the same thing that we did in G major, but we're going to do it in E minor using the same chord. So we're still going to go with the C to the C sharp diminished 7 to the D, but then we're going to resolve back to E. Okay, so so a slightly different vibe with the E as the tonic, but it's the same idea. All right, so look forward to a part 2 going forward. It probably won't be the next video, but it will be in the it'll be in the chamber. All right. If anybody has any questions, comments, please like, please subscribe, and have a great day.